in session. Please stand for the Worshipful, the Mayor of the Borough Decorum, Councillor Catherine McCreevy.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Council. I would ask all members to remain respectful and adhere to the rulings of the Mayor at all times. Can I also ask that all persons present turn off any Wi-Fi hotspots on your phones or electrical devices, as this interferes with the meeting audio. Finally, I would like to remind everyone that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Photography may also take place as long as it does not prejudice the proceedings at this meeting. So, to agenda item 1. Does the Council agree the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 23rd of July 2025? Okay, agenda item 2. Declaration of interest. Members are reminded that if they have any interest in respect of items on this evening's agenda, they should declare them now. The Monitoring Officer has issued advice to members in advance of the meeting regarding the motion later this evening relating to Town and Parish Council grants. Members who also serve on a Town or Parish Council should declare that as a personal interest and may take part in the debate and vote in accordance with the dispensation granted. Are there any declarations of interest?
I wish to declare that I'm a member of Berkhamsted Town Council.
Thank you. Councillor Bristow?
Yes, I too would like to declare that I'm a member of Berkhamsted Town Council.
Thank you. Councillor Capozzi?
Thank you. I'm the chair of Northchurch Parish Council.
Thank you. Councillor Reynolds?
Yes, I'd like to declare that I'm a town councillor for Tring.
Thank you. Councillor Madden?
Yes, I'd like to declare that I'm a parish councillor for Nashmills.
Thank you. Councillor Jakowski, and welcome to your first borough meeting.
Thank you. I'd like to declare that I'm also a member of Berkhamsted Town Council.
Thank you. Councillor Riddick?
Yes, I'd like to declare that I'm the Borough Councillor for the ward of Bovingdon, Chipfield and Flaundon.
So you're a borough councillor, but are you a parish or town?
Town, sorry.
A town councillor. Okay, thank you. Councillor Wilkie?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm a town councillor at Tring Town Council.
Thank you. Councillor Patterson?
I'm a councillor at Tring Town Council, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Weston?
Thank you, Chair. I'm a councillor for Tring Town Council.
Thank you. Councillor Pringle?
Yes, I'm a member of Northchurch Parish Council.
Thank you. Councillor Walker?
Thank you, Chair. I'm a parish councillor for Bovingdon.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson?
I'm a parish councillor for King's Landy.
Thank you. Councillor Stevens?
I'm a parish councillor in Berkhamsted.
Thank you. Are there any more declarations of interest? No. Okay. Sorry, Councillor Smith-Wright.
I'm a county councillor for Markyate and Flamstead.
County councillor, but not a parish or... No, okay, so it's specifically parish or town council. Thank you. So, agenda item 3, there is no public participation. Agenda item 4, under announcements, I am delighted to welcome Air Training Corps Cadet Flight Sergeant Preston, together with Flight Lieutenant Paul Mimpris, from 1187 Hemel Hempstead Squadron of the Royal Air Cadets. As members will recall, we have recently launched a new partnership with both the RAF and Army Cadets for the appointment of the Mayor's Cadet during my term. This is a valued and symbolic role within the cadet organisations, giving a young person the opportunity to represent their squadron and the wider cadet community while supporting the mayoralty at civic events. It is a pleasure to have our first appointed cadet with us tonight, and I very much look forward to working with them. So I'm going to come forward and formally introduce him. Thank you. Okay, so I'd just also like to give some mayoral updates of some activities that myself and Councillor Stevens have been involved in. Obviously, we had VJ Day, which was very well attended. There's been a number of events in the community, such as Knit and Natter Group in Gaybridge. We had a visit from the High Sheriff. Now, High Sheriff came to a number of our organisations across the borough, for example, Liberty Tea Rooms, Frogmore Paper Mill, Boxmoor Trust, Jellicoe Gardens, Westbrook Hayes School, and a Natural History Museum in Tring. He gave fantastic feedback about our borough, and so I just wanted to share. He was really, really impressed with some of the services we have here. We have been to an Unity in the Community, which took place in Watford, but it was for a range of organisations. 48 local charities were in attendance, including the Waterways Experience, St John Ambulance. We've had lots of activity with the Scouts, so visit to Faisal's Wood, lots of activity there. They're trying to keep me fit this year. And we've also had the Hemel Scouts Awards, where 157 Scouts received some awards for the fantastic work that they've been doing. Cllr also hosted a business festival called Ideas Fest. There was over 4,000 business leaders, international, many of them international and national business leaders, came to Tring and were sharing a lot of their innovative ideas. And I think it's really, really positive for our borough to be hosting such a huge festival. So Ideas Fest is actually described as Glastonbury, but for business. We've attended a number of sporting activities, so boxing, paddle, bowls, to name a few, swimming. There's been neuro-inclusive football sessions. There's been a sign language class, well, it's not sign language class, a group for people wanting to learn about sign language. And we've had the Knife Angel in Hertfordshire, and there's been a number of activities taking place at the Knife Angel, including CPR, which is resuscitation skills should somebody need to be able to restart a heart, and members of the community had the opportunity to practice that, which I think is always positive. And we have also had Electric Umbrella, as part of Hate Week, went to London and they launched their campaign for Hate Week, and I had the opportunity to go up there and celebrate with them and actually celebrate their success. Anyone who doesn't know who Electric Umbrella are, they've been in Hemel Hempstead for several years. They've been supporting people in the community with learning disabilities, learning to play musical instruments, and last year they were on Britain's Got Talent, which, you know, they became quite famous for, but actually they go around the community regularly. They go to many of the fetes and things that we're at and just share their wonderful music and their messages of inclusivity. And I think when times, you know, sometimes our communities are not strong, but I think when we listen to messages from organisations like them, it's really important. So that's a rough summary. I think there's been approximately 45 events since the last meeting, so there's quite a lot keeping us both busy, and lots of sport. Okay, so I'll move on to the next item on the agenda. If I could now ask Darren, do you have any announcements as Chief Executive?
Thank you. By-elections took place in Berkhamsted on the 24th of July 2025 to fill 2 vacancies, one on the Borough Council in the Berkhamsted West Ward and one on Berkhamsted Town Council, also in the West Ward. Will Jankowski of the Liberal Democrats was elected to fill both positions. A by-election will take place tomorrow, Thursday the 23rd of October 2025, to fill a vacancy on Kings Langley Parish Council in the North Ward. The count will take place at the Community Hall, Rucklers Lane, after close of poll. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now invite the group leaders to give any apologies for absence on behalf of their groups. Your microphone's not on. That's it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm giving apologies for Councillor Rick Freedman.
Thank you.
Apologies on behalf of Councillor Neil Harden and Alex Binder.
Apologies on behalf of Councillor Thirlwall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Chair. Councillor Cox is working this evening.
Thank you. Could I ask Democratic Services if you have any other apologies?
We've received apologies from Councillor Barry Mears.
Thank you. Now, moving on to agenda item 5, I draw your attention to the portfolio holder updates as published with the agenda. I will invite questions against each update in turn. First, though, I will ask Councillor Sally Symington if she has a verbal update to give as leader of the council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So first of all, I'd like to welcome as part of our group, Will Jankowski, who, as mentioned, was elected in July. So welcome, Will. I hope you'll all join me in welcoming him to the council. My update is going to primarily focus on the devolution and local government reorganisation, and I'll take those two separately. So since July, and actually since way before then, I've been attending, as the leader of the Cornwall Borough Council, the Hearts Leader Group meetings, which take place every 2 weeks, along with the Chief Executive and the Chief Executives of all the other 9 district and borough councils and the County Council. There's a huge work stream that's being brought forward. It's been divided up across the district and borough councils, and there are a number of areas that we've been focusing on at each meeting to inform us as leaders and by extension all of you of the best, well, no, not the best, the options that are available to us. So as you're aware, a single unitary option was ruled out in May. The single unitary was deemed to be too large at 1.2 million. It would have been the largest single unitary pretty much in the country, apart from close to Birmingham, and not appropriate for an area the size of Hertfordshire with so many different communities. It also would have precluded Hertfordshire having a strategic mayoral authority, and that's actually quite a key aspect to why it's not appropriate. It would hobble Hertfordshire in terms of its growing its own economy going forward. The size and geography of the 2, 3 and 4 unitaries was agreed over the summer, and the leaders have agreed to present a common narrative across the three options, which will include financial viability, community connections, representation, service delivery, and so forth. Within the group, within the decorum, we have a cross-party working group that meets monthly and for updates and to ensure that the progress of the work streams is shared. And I hope that all of that work is passed on to all of you. In July, we undertook a series of meetings with key strategic stakeholders, including DENS, Sunnyside Rural Trust, Community Action Decorum, Boxmoor Trust, and How Time Association, to help inform us as a council who our strategic stakeholders, how they feel about it and the best way forward from their point of view. In September, along with the County Council and again the 9 other district and borough councils, we consulted with residents via a webinar and drop-in events in Hemel, Hempstead, Tring and Berkhamsted. So in terms of the timeline, all 11 councils are required to submit a single choice per council by the 28th of November. So in terms of the scrutiny processes, Finance and Resources will scrutinise the work that's been done so far on the 5th of November. The final documents will be published on the 6th of November. There will be an extraordinary meeting of the Council on the 12th of November with the option for the members to express their preference. And the decision will be taken as a Cabinet decision on the 18th of November with, as I said, the final submission on the 28th of November. Ultimately, the final decision lies with the Secretary of State, Steve Reed, who replaced Angela Rayner. And in terms of the ongoing process, we're not expecting to hear very much until next spring, and there will be a further public consultation at that stage. So in the meantime, I wanted to thank officers for the huge amount of time and effort they're putting into this, and it is very time consuming. But we mustn't let this distract us from business as usual. And I want to reassure you that business as usual is incredibly important, and we will continue to deliver on our corporate plan and working to improve the services to residents in Decorum. The final point I wanted, and just to highlight that devolution is a separate issue. It will follow local government reorganisation. It's being led by Hertfordshire County Council. As things stand, it appears that none of our neighbouring areas are looking to form a strategic mayoral authority with Hertfordshire. So it looks as if Hertfordshire itself will become, if the government gives us permission to, its own strategic mayoral authority. So.
Thank you. Councillor Guest.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have 2 freedom of information requests. The first one states that this council spent £2,401.90 on the 80th anniversary of VE Day celebrations. The other reveals that this council committed £25,000 to the 50th anniversary of Decorum celebrations, 50 Fest. Why did this council spend over 10 times as much on celebrating the 50th anniversary of its own existence as it did on commemorating the end of a war in Europe, which so many lost their lives and were touched sadly in other ways?
Thank you for that question. I couldn't hear the numbers that you were saying. I heard the 25,000, and if I divide it by 5, I'm guessing that you said it was 5,000. Is that correct?
The Freedom of Information request stated that the council spent £2,401.90 on the VE Day celebrations.
Okay, I'm sorry, I also obviously misheard it was a tenth rather than a fifth. Well, obviously those are numbers that I'm not aware of. The VE Day celebrations were a joint celebration with the Royal British Legion. I think, I'm not sure if you attended them, but they were well attended. The costs associated with them are not high. It's an event that people attended around the War Memorial, and we were then invited back to the church. I'm afraid I don't have the details of how the apportionment of those costs were, but as I said, it's an event that people attend voluntarily and is run in conjunction with Royal British Legion. The 50th Festival of Decorum is obviously a completely separate event and is a celebration of the town, and it included events that were put on as a celebration in a way that wouldn't have been appropriate at a much more solemn and ceremonial event such as we had on VE Day.
Councillor Guest, would you like to come back?
Madam Mayor, my supplementary is that why did all the other towns in Hertfordshire and the village of Bovingdon have VE Day beacons? The Hemel Hempstead did not.
I can't comment on the decisions of other town and parish councils. As you're aware, any events that would have previously taken place in Gadebridge Park weren't able to take place in Gadebridge Park because of the works. So, short of a venue to have it, it wasn't possible to have a beacon.
Thank you. Councillor Wyatt Lowe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Symington, I applaud the efforts of your administration to encourage walking and cycling across the borough. However, this morning, while walking on the Nicky line in Highfield, a cyclist travelling at speed from behind me nearly caused a serious collision. When will your administration take seriously the need to protect pedestrians and introduce safety measures?
Councillor Wyatt Lowe, I'm very sorry to hear that you were nearly knocked over. That is, and I hope that you weren't injured in whatever event took place. In terms of cyclists, obviously I don't know the situation. It is in the same way as we have a highway code. We have codes of conduct for cyclists. We have code of conduct for people who are riding on horses. And it is important that people who use other forms of transport, whether those be scooters as well, obey and abide by those rules. If you're asking how we can implement that, I'm not quite sure what your question is. You know, obviously, if you feel that you are put at risk, then you need to report that to the police, because I believe that it is, if nothing else, antisocial behaviour. It's as I said, it's beholden on people who are using either bicycles, mopeds, or any other form of transport. In the same way as car drivers have to drive responsibly, that doesn't mean they shouldn't be doing it. It means that they have to act responsibly in the environment that they're in.
Thank you. Councillor Wyatt, do you have a supplementary?
I do, yes. So are you telling us, this council then, that there is absolutely nothing that you, as a council administration, can do to help protect residents? Or are you prepared to try and do something?
Obviously, we want everybody to behave as well as possible in every forum that they are acting in. If you are happy to write down the specifics, I'm really happy to take that forward as to what we might do, speaking to the police, speaking to highways about an appropriate signage on the Nicky line.
Thank you. Councillor Hannell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Will the Leader of the Council join me in congratulating the Chairman, David Boggins, the Manager, Lee Allenson, and the players of Hemel Hempstead Town men's football team on their amazing achievement of reaching the first round proper of the FA Cup for only the third time in their 140-year history.
Well, Councillor Hannell, I think that the council's done that for me. So yes, of course, very many congratulations. I've put my hand up. I'm not a football fan. I don't follow football. I absolutely love sport. I think sport is fantastic and everybody should get involved in it. And if the success of this local club encourages more people to go and play football, young people in particular, inspires them, older people, walking football, any other football, then that's fantastic. And, you know, to that end, I commend them for their own efforts personally, because I know how much dedication needs to go into training to do these things. But as I said, as a role model to the rest of the town and a way of encouraging other people to get involved, success breeds success. And so undoubtedly, this is a fantastic achievement and should be celebrated.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary? No. Councillor Madden.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Symington, following on from your answer to Councillor Guest and the overwhelming level of frustration displayed at the April meeting regarding the lack of activity for VE Day, would you agree that the decision to downplay this occasion was a mistake?
Well, I don't agree that we downplayed the event. I think we actually had a fantastic event in the end, and I was really proud to be part of it, and I'm really proud that the bits of the Armed Forces and the Royal British Legion were able to put on something which I know you yourself requested, which no other borough or district was doing, which was an element of a parade. So I think actually in the end it turned out to be a really good event, and I'm really proud that we were able to do that. In terms of the community events, absolutely delighted that so many places, and I think somebody name-checked Bovingdon, really, really pleased that, and I know Tring did lots of things are able to happen in the communities, which was very much the advice of the government and encouragement for it to be at grassroots level.
Thank you. Any supplementary?
Certainly do. The event that was held was obviously held on a Thursday because that was VE Day 80. Would you not think that we should have done something on a weekend where many, many more people could have attended because most people were at work or school on the Thursday?
The event that took place on the Thursday took place, as you've said, because that was the day that it was earmarked. It wasn't a question of moving that event to another day. So if you're asking if we could have organised something else on the weekend, I've already explained that Gatebridge Park, which would be our usual venue, was not available to us. So, you know, I'm sorry if for this year we were unable to do the event that you might have envisaged, but there are plenty of other events that people have been able to celebrate at, and that event itself very much captured the spirit of what was going on.
Thank you. Councillor Tyndall, I'm not going to be able to give you the opportunity because we've run out of time. Okay, thank you. Next to the Neighbourhood Operations Portfolio, I will take the report as read and invite any questions to Councillor Bromham on his update.
Thank you. Yes, I'll be pleased to answer any questions.
Councillor Tyndall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wonder if Councillor Bromham would liaise with the leader of the council, and while welcoming the success of our local football team and trust that they will actually have a good run in the cup, could this council liaise with the police in order to ensure that the local residents in Adeyfield Ward, both sides, east and west, are not disturbed unduly from the visiting fans and coaches and the number of cars that tend to be strewn all over our beautiful greens. So I'd be grateful if, while we welcome the footballers, I'm afraid we would like to have some liaison with the police to control the crowd, the supporters. Thank you.
That is noted. Thank you very much. And I think that will be a cross-functional between the portfolio holders to consider that.
Thank you. Councillor Tyndall, did you have a follow-up? No. Councillor Wyatt-Lowe, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor I might get the hang of this by the time I retire. Councillor Bromham, you mentioned the Old Town Hall review in your report. When will there be an opportunity to scrutinise the report? Who is compiling the report, and when do you expect it to be available for us to look at it and discuss its contents? Oh,
Councillor Whitelow, can I just remind you, it's one question. I think that was 3 questions.
Sorry, it was a portmanteau effort, sorry.
Thank you. Councillor Bromham.
The only question that I caught there was about the Old Town Hall, which I think is in the Place portfolio.
Any supplementary?
Sorry, I was referring to the Old Town Hall Theatre review, which seems to be mentioned in your report, unless I imagined it.
I think that would be under Place.
Oh, right, okay. So prepare yourself, Daniel. Sorry, Adrian.
Thank you. Could I get you to turn your mic off? Councillor, thank you.
What with Andre?
Okay, Councillor Timmis, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Bromham, I'm pleased to hear about the River Gade and its restoration. And I'm now wondering if you will be considering turning your attention to cleaning up the River Ver, which is a chalk stream that runs through Markyate and Flampstead in Watling Ward, which has been heavily polluted by Thames water, with overflow of waste and excrement for many, many months, particularly last year. Supposedly, it's one of the worst in the country.
Yes, thank you. Definitely all of the chalk streams are a crucial environment for decorum, and just yesterday I was at the Cllr Catchment Action Network, which has got a lot of experts and joint efforts involving all of the Chilterns to improve these rare habitats. We were looking at improving, removing weirs and culverts and so on to improve the migration of brown trout, water voles and even beavers. So yes, there's a lot of, we've done 400 metres or so of that river, but yeah, there's a huge amount more work to be done on the Gade, the Bolbourne and the Ver.
Thank you. Any supplementary?
Yes, just to say you haven't actually answered whether you are intending to do anything about the River Ver. You're just saying how marvellous they are, which I agree with. But have you actually got any timeline for doing anything about it? And you would need to work with Thames Water in this case.
And that is a common issue with all of the sewage works on all of the rivers, and including the Ver. And yeah, I have talked to Thames Water about this sort of thing, and I will, I think this is something that needs to be progressed on a wider scale as well as just in decorum. So certainly aware of that, certainly talking to the right people, and I know, for example, one of our MPs, Victoria Collins, raised an issue about the River Ver in Parliament and the precious chalk streams. So, we as an administration, we're using all the influence we can to really improve this situation, reduce pollution and improve biodiversity.
Thank you. Councillor Berriedale.
Thank you, Mayor. In the portfolio holders report, I was interested to see that the council have removed litter bins, because they were causing litter. It's not entirely clear, but I think he was referring to the bins on the A41. Could you confirm, and if so, is it just the A41 or have bins been removed elsewhere in the borough?
Well, there's been a specific project involving the A41 because it's caused a lot of problems in the past, and it's caused huge expense for our residents to fund the cleaning up of that road. It cost about £20,000 to do a litter pick, and it cost about £20,000 to close the road. It was costing a lot of money also to empty the bins, which were being widely abused. You don't have to wait very long in those 9 lay-bys to see cars pull up, probably from outside decorum, unload the car boot into those litter bins or around the litter bins, drive off. That stuff then blows across the road, makes a terrible mess. There were some lessons learned from some large parks, and I received advice on this that actually somewhat counterintuitively, removing the bins from those parks and putting them outside further away actually did reduce the amount of litter. You don't get stuff blown out of the bins, and you don't get this general expectation that people have got to empty their pockets there and then when they have something to dispose of. So we also put up signage asking people to take their litter home, and the initial what we're seeing at the moment is a great reduction in the amount of littering in that area. So I'm optimistic that this will reduce the costs for decorum for our residents, and it will also improve the environment.
Thank you. Do you have a follow-up? Okay, thank you. Councillor Hobson, please.
Thank you. Just a quick question about Gadebridge Park, the new pathway. It looks great. Been walking my dog along there, but I have noticed that the new path is sort of sand, and I wondered, is that intended to be sand forever, or is there a longer term to make it better for wheelchair users, because it's already kicking up dust that's already potted? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I haven't gone into the detail of the fabric that the paths are made of, but thank you for raising that, and I'll certainly have a look next time I'm there and discuss it with officers.
Thank you. Councillor Hobson, did you have a supplementary? No. Councillor Doris, please.
Thank you, Mayor. And first of all, can I just apologise for not wearing a tie? There is a reason for it, which I won't go into now, but I beg your indulgence. Councillor Bromham, can I congratulate you on your excellent speech at the opening of the Gadebridge Park and the reorganisation of it, which actually now will allow us to be truly international, because as I recall, you now can have eels swimming all the way from Markyate, all the way down the Thames, across the water, and across to America. So we are truly international. Congratulations. That's the first time you'll hear me say that, and probably the last. But do you have anything to say? That's two questions.
Well, thank you ever so much for that appreciation of the biodiversity and the work that's been going on. I think the eels haven't quite made it to Gadebridge Park yet, but a lot of species have. There's been an increase in the amount of brown trout, and just yesterday I was looking at a new nature reserve combined with an angling lake at Sabies Pool, which in Rickmansworth, which is downstream of the Gade, and they have had eels there, which presumably are migrating.
I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare.
Thank you. We're not going to have time for any further questions, so apologies for that. Thank you. So, next to the place portfolio, I will take the report as read and invite any questions to Councillor England on his update. Councillor Mitchell.
Well, actually, I didn't turn it off from last time, but I did have a question for Councillor England. So just regarding the Gadebridge Raymond Villa, is there any progress or update on the discussions that we've had about making some sort of monument or an information board just celebrating the heritage there? Thank you.
Councillor Mitchell, I'm afraid I don't have an update for you at this meeting, but if you want to send me an email, I will certainly follow that through with officers. We'll have some conversations about what we think is appropriate, doable and achievable, and come back to you.
That's great, thank you.
Thank you. Did you have a follow-up supplementary? No. Okay, so I believe Councillor Doris?
No, that was a rogue button, sorry.
Okay. So Councillor Anderson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Unfortunately, the council is now in a position where we are starting to lose large planning appeal decisions on significant issues hand over fist. I think I can think of 3 offhand to start with. And it's all because of our woeful housing supply. Could the portfolio holder confirm to councillors what planning officers are doing to actually recalculate our housing supply in light of all these developments that are being allowed? Because that ultimately, whilst it won't have a huge effect, it will help as part of the plan process, and we are allowed up to a point to make minor changes to the local plan whilst it's going under examination. So could the portfolio holder please provide members with details on that?
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. We talk about this, perhaps not on a weekly basis, but we do often talk about the number of appeals which have been allowed, the number of houses which are therefore being built which weren't in our local plan or our draft local plan. So I recognise the issue that he mentions. Council may or may not be aware that our housing supply dropped to just a tiny bit over 1 year. That was obviously partly because mathematics, when the government massively increases your target, the houses that you think are going to make you a number of years and get you to safe territory are no longer doing that. And it isn't because of anything the council has done or not done. Obviously, the root of this problem is that we don't have an up-to-date local plan, and I think that it's easy to regret that in hindsight. But certainly, this administration, started by Councillor Wilkie, made terrific efforts to take every opportunity we could to get this council to a point where we have an up-to-date local plan. So I will go back to officers and ask them for what the figure is, certainly before the next council meeting, so that I can answer the question if it's raised again.
Thank you. Did you have a supplementary? No, thank you. So, Councillor Whitelow, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Could Councillor England please answer the question that I raised earlier? Yes. You've had plenty of time to prepare.
January.
Is there a supplementary?
Yes. Following on from that, there's a review. Currently, does the Old Town Hall wipe its face financially? I.e., are we subsidising it? Oh, sorry,
Councillor Whitelow, I believe we are subsidising the Old Town Hall Theatre. However, it is very good news that the management and the manager, Stuart, who is there at the moment, is doing a fantastic job. Your councillors may remember that Michael McIntyre has been here a few times to try on his show. He's not the only named comedian who has been here to do that kind of thing. So we've got a terrific thing going in the Old Town Hall Theatre at the moment. It is far too small for a town of this size. We all know that. But it is absolutely wiping its face in terms of performance, if not in terms of money.
Thank you. Councillor Madden, please.
Thank you very much. I hope I've got the right portfolio holder here. Several years ago, I was very heavily involved in the planning for the crematorium at Bunkers Park. I hope that's you. Is that? Is it? Is it?
It is Robin.
About the road?
Well, keep going.
In there? Okay. So at the time, I requested that the road where you come into the crematorium entrance was being tarmacked, and I requested it was tarmacked right the way through. I was told that there was an alternative road surface going down there that was going to be, which would have a 10-year warranty, and the potholes are still having to be filled all the time because it is absolutely appalling. I would have thought that was placed, but maybe not. Okay, so I just wanted to know what's happening about it. Mainly, are they chasing the warranty for it? Because somebody needs to be paying for it, and it should not be the council.
I will bring the full resources of the Cabinet to answer that question and a copy to all members.
Thank you.
Thank you. I assume no supplementary. Thank you. Councillor C-Link, please. We have two councillor links, so that's why I've specified the C.
Thank you, Madam. Oh, that's very loud. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for clarifying the difference between B-Link and C-Link. I'm also known as Clink to my family. Anyway, I'd just like to have a question. I don't talk very often because I just don't. I like to listen. I'd just like to ask the portfolio holder if he agrees with me about the neighbourhood Cllr. And my question really is, with do you mind if I sit down?
That's fine.
My question is, with the 15% of the community infrastructure, I can't speak, I'm so sorry. Should I just say Cllr? Does everyone know what I mean by Cllr? Excellent. So, with the difficulty within the community of us, deciding what the residents really want, can I just, I just want some clarity that we're going to get proper involvement on how we can spend this as councillors for our residents, really. Does that make sense?
No.
No, I didn't think it made sense either. But Adrian, do you know what I mean?
I'll try.
Was that the range? Do you want me to summarise it again?
I'll try, and perhaps there'll be time for a supplementary if I've got this wrong. I think you're talking about Neighbourhood Cllr.
I am.
Neighbourhood Cllr is the part which, if you're in an unparished area, then it reverts to the ward members to make a plan to get that spent. It is very challenging for ward members in unparished areas to take on the role of, effectively, a small part of the role of a parish or a town council. They don't have the continuity. They don't have the, they come in as new councillors and it takes time to learn your patch, to establish the level of relationships that a parish or town council will have. And that makes it harder to spend the money sensibly and responsibly, which I'm sure we all want to do. So I think that for that reason, it's difficult for councillors. There is guidance from officers on how to do this. There is support on how to put this together. I declare an interest. I'm the county councillor for Councillor Link's area, and certainly I can think of many, many ideas, as I'm sure Councillor Madden can think of projects that could be supported. No, but in your council division. Yeah. Am I on the right track?
Thank you.
Yes, you are, because I've had a number of residents, if you don't mind a follow-up, in the Apsley and Corner Hall area, which I represent alongside with my fellow councillor David Deacon. They have asked us how, really, Dacorum Borough Council enable us to represent residents by trying to really spend the money on things that are very important to the area. So, you have really answered that.
It's not a question.
Excuse me, someone's just shouting out. Can we just maintain some order, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor England, you can respond to that briefly, otherwise you might need to provide a written response.
Yeah, and so briefly, what I would say is it has to be a balance between the local members knowing their areas, which, as I've said, takes a bit of time, and the council giving some support, which I believe they are doing.
Thank you. Next to the People and Transformation, Climate and Ecological Emergency Portfolio. I will take the report as read and invite any questions to Councillor Smith-Wright on her update. To Councillor Mitchell first, please.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Councillor Barradell.
Thank you, Mayor. For a bit of context, at this council meeting 2 years ago, the then portfolio holder for climate change, as it was, announced the first set of climate change UK scorecards were out, and that Decorum was ranked as he said, 44th out of all the district and borough councils in the country, thanks majority to the work of the previous Conservative administration of the council. Now, we've just had 2 years of a Lib Dem administration that's been focused on tackling climate change and the ecological emergency. I didn't see any mention of this in her report, but the next set of scorecards have been published. So could the portfolio holder let us know where Decorum now rank?
Thank you, Councillor Barradell. If you don't mind, I will respond by email to that question. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a supplementary.
Thank you. Yes, you may.
Thank you, Mayor. There's no need because I've checked. Whilst our score has gone up marginally, as it has across the country, our ranking has plummeted from 44th to, and I checked this 3 times, 87th by my count, and in Hertfordshire from 4th to 7th. Now that's despite all the funding and apparent focus that this council and this administration have put on tackling climate change and ecological emergency. One can only presume that because they scrapped the portfolio holder role, that it's no longer a priority. But anyway, can the portfolio holder tell me why any environmentally conscious residents, many of whom probably voted for them and for her, can have any faith in this administration?
Thank you.
Thank you. I will respond. And you've obviously jinxed me with following it up, but I do have a good response, which I will let you know.
Thank you. Councillor Jakovsky.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Could the portfolio holder please provide an update on the rollout of new laptops for staff and explain what the benefits of IT programmes such as this have for in terms of the efficiency of the council?
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, good news. We've managed to change 800 laptops, apart from one, which is Councillor Anderson. Oh, you've got it, have you? You've got a tablet. Okay. And the good news is also we're going to be introducing some training on Office 365, but it enhances security through cloud-based storage, encryption. It's making us much more resilient against cyber attacks. And together these upgrades will give us smarter ways of working from home and in the community.
Thank you. Did you have a supplementary? No. Okay. Thank you. No more questions. So we will move on to Housing and Property Services portfolio. I will take the report as read and invite any questions to Councillor Dhyani on her update. Councillor Doris, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Dhyani, can you tell me how many of the 500 new homes that you mentioned in your report were commissioned and delivered since the 2023 elections? And just for clarity, the question is commissioned and delivered.
Thank you, Councillor Doris, for the question. So I do have a report in front of me, and it's a big breakdown if you really want to hear. In fact, there were 2 sites which were commissioned under previous administration, which actually didn't go through as planned due to the developer failures went into administration. So it is very difficult to answer your question in terms of commission, because if it didn't succeed, part of the first commission, it then falls onto the new administration in order to get this work started, picked back up, and in fact dealt with the new increased cost. However, since 2023, we've delivered a few garage-sized development, which delivered 23 units. Then we completed in July 24. We completed, in July 24, 30 other units in Referrals. Again, we developed some garage site, delivered in September 24, 8 another units. Delivered on 12th of February 2025, Paradise Field, 58 social units. Under April 2024, we've delivered St Margaret's Way, 46 units, Marchman Field, 32 units, in Eastwick Road, just delivered in August, 34 units, and on its way to deliver in March 2027, further 56 units at Paradise Depot. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I come back to you, can I just remind people that to be respectful and not be making too much noise when people are talking, because it makes it hard for people to hear what's actually being said. So just a reminder for anyone to be respectful while people are talking. So I'll come back to Councillor Doris for a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mayor. You've listed a large number of projects, but the question I posed were how many were commissioned and delivered since 2023? And my suspicion, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and I know that's a second question, that there were none commissioned and delivered since 2023 election.
Happy for me to answer? No, I would disagree with that. As I said, there were 2 sites under complete stop, and it's freshly commissioned, procured again, and I would consider those to be commissioned under new administration. So as much as you would like to take a credit of those being commissioned under different administration, but they were actually on a standstill, they were not progressing. So, yeah, I would say no, we've not, it's not all delivered or commissioned in the previous administration.
Thank you. Councillors, sorry, can I just remind you, Councillor England, that when people are talking, not to make too much noise. Thank you. Councillor Santa Maria.
Thank you, Mayor. Will the portfolio holder join me in commending the officers on their proactive and sensitive approach to supporting vulnerable refugees in our borough, an approach which ensures the safety of all residents and is in keeping with our borough's tradition of welcoming those in need, which stretches back to World War II?
Thank you, and I would welcome your comments and happily joining in. Thank you.
Thank you. Any supplementary? Councillor Santa Maria, any supplementary?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Greenfield, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to congratulate the portfolio holder on the creation of the third party hate reporting centre in the forum. We do, however, throughout the borough have very efficient and active community centres. Would the portfolio holder consider making an outreach programme to take that out to the communities rather than expecting the communities to come to the forum? Thank you.
Thank you, and again, thank you for your comments. As you mentioned, it is something we are very proud to deliver in Decorum, to offer a third-party reporting centre in Decorum, because we do acknowledge that there are a lot of people who struggle to reach out to the police if they feel unsure about what kind of crime is it, what kind of issue is that. Sometimes people class them as an antisocial behaviour. That it may not be just antisocial behaviour, it may need further assessment to it, and that's what this centre is going to do. They're going to help people keeping, again, the confidentiality of it, but making sure that they get the right support. So if it does need to go to the police, then Decorum will be again liaising. And we have some amazing officers who are volunteering to do this role. They've taken some further training, but I take your comment on board, and hopefully we can actually go ahead and host some sessions outside the forum, but at the moment it is at the forum, and when I attended the opening event, officers were very excited and said people of any nature could come to us and we will guidepost them. So they're literally on the ground floor and ready to answer any community issues you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Greenfield, did you have a supplementary?
Do have a supplementary. I appreciate all that and what it does, which is why I think it's an excellent service. But I think as a council, we also need to recognise that people experiencing that level of hate may not feel comfortable coming into an official building like this. And therefore, being able to send those officers out to their communities and the community centres may help. And therefore, I would like to request that we do consider using the community centre as a means of taking that service to the people rather than expecting the people to come to us. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I think it's a wonderful idea, and I'm definitely going to discuss this again, depending on the resources. But this is definitely an idea will benefit the community far more than just sitting in the forum. So I really appreciate that, and we'll work on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thought Councillor Duris's question was reasonably understandable, but clearly either Councillor Dhyani didn't quite understand it or she's attempting to mislead the council, so I'll try and simplify the question. Clearly we suffered the unfortunate situation where 2 contractors went into receivership having started work on sites that we had previously commissioned. I think it's a stretch to say that they are, to bring another contractor in is to commission those as new houses under the scheme. So my simple question is, how many additional houses for social rent that weren't in the programme that inherited in May 2023 have they added to the programme since then? Houses that weren't already commissioned in 2023. Hopefully that's simple enough to get a straight answer.
Thank you again. I think the question is simple enough. I just would like to say that as an administration, our priority is in head counting, the numbers, what we commission, what we're delivering. Our priorities is to deliver homes. So if you really specifically want to know what we commissioned, I'm more than happy to get some reports and get shared. As I said, my priority here isn't to pick on what we commissioned, it's to what can we deliver. And I don't have a specific breakdown at this moment, so I can get that over to you in the email.
Thank you. Councillor Williams, did you have a supplementary?
Would it be fair for me to assume the answer is 0, Madam Mayor?
Sorry, was that a question? What was the question? Could you just...
Fair for me to assume the answer is 0. Councillor Dhyani is making a tremendous effort of avoiding the question.
I'm not avoiding the question. I said I would not like to quote a wrong number, so I would like our officers to provide me a breakdown and I can forward that over to you via email. I think I'm not trying to dodge the question, so I'm sorry, your assumption is wrong.
Thank you. Finally, to the corporate and contracted services portfolio, I will take the report as read and invite any questions to Councillor Allen on his update.
If I may, Madam Mayor, there's a couple of things that I'd like to verbally report.
Yes, you may.
So there's 2 things. Firstly, we have a number of key borough assets that are going through the strategic asset review. The Bury, Berkhamsted Civic Centre and Victoria Hall in Tring. I've been calling on officers to be ambitious and creative in exploring ways for the buildings so that they can be kept in community ownership and community use. And I want to flag up to colleagues that we have some presentations from the relevant borough team that is providing them with opportunities to feed into the process by which options are long-listed and fed into the options appraisal. So I'd like to encourage colleagues to please come and attend those meetings and contribute to these very important discussions. The other thing, given the motion that we've got later on the agenda, and I'm not necessarily wanting to preempt that, but I thought it might be helpful to share what the consultation process has been with town and parish councils on their funding and where the direction of travel is due to go. So the consultation...
Madam Mayor, on a point of order, if I may,
Yes.
I thought that questions and responses related to the report as presented, not diverging into another matter.
I would suggest that these reports that do not necessarily preclude portfolio holders being able to share additional material about what's going on in their portfolio.
Just give me a moment. I'm going to just check. Portfolio holders can give updates, but it does need to be limited, and that's why there is a timer for Councillor Allen to provide that update. So continue, please.
Thank you. And this is a purely factual update. I'm not intending to open up any of the issues that colleagues will be keen to discuss in more detail during the debate. So the first consultation with parishes was in August last year, and my predecessor, on the basis of responses from that, did delay a decision on the funding for a further year. Unfortunately, we were due to come to consultation in July, but the Berkhamsted by-election meant that we weren't able to pursue this at that time, and that led to an unfortunate delay. And I accept that that was very unfortunate for town and parish councils to have to consult during the holiday season. So the consultation formally ended on the 12th of September. We extended it to the 22nd of September so that all parishes were able to have a full parish council meeting during the consultation period and could feed back into the consultation period having had a parish council meeting. Moving forward, the paper is being looked into at the moment. It is at a very advanced stage. It is to be shared with group leaders tomorrow and then is due to be published on the 28th of October so that it can go to scrutiny on, I hope it's not ominous, on fireworks night on the 5th of November. And that's so that it can come to Cabinet in December, and this is all designed to fit in with the cycle of council tax settling and feeding into the budget in time for the new financial year. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So we'll reset the timer for questions. So first question to Councillor Hobson, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I just heard that there's a report going to group leaders. What are the arrangements for those of us who are independent, please? Thank you.
As I understand it, independents are not a group, and so I'm not sure that they qualify for seeing it as part of the group leader consultation process. But I'll happily be corrected if I'm wrong by legal counsel.
Can I just refer to the legal counsel to answer that? Thank you.
The group leaders meeting is just an informal meeting, so for the group leaders. So the papers won't be shared at that point, but they will be shared as part of the scrutiny process formally.
Thank you. Councillor Hobson, did you have a follow-up? No. Okay. So Councillor Barradell, please.
Thank you, Mayor. In the portfolio holders report, he mentions that several public toilets in the borough have been closed because of antisocial behaviour and vandalism. Could the portfolio holder confirm which ones have been closed?
I believe this was put in my report, is in my report, because a question was raised at the last council about the funding for improvements, So that is a financial matter. However, I understand the actual management of the public facilities are within a different portfolio. However, I will try and answer you as best I can. I believe, isn't Hemel Hempstead Old Town closed currently? Looking to colleagues. See.
Wasn't last week.
I'll have to get back to you, I'm afraid, or require the relevant portfolio holder to get back to you.
Thank you. Councillor Barradell, did you have a supplementary?
I do, I'll change it slightly. Can you confirm that the funding will be there to ensure that public toilets across the borough stay open? Because they are vital for public hygiene in our town centres and for people who need urgent access to toilets when they're out and about.
The discussions within my portfolio are to keep them open and about how we can find the resources to improve them, make them more resilient to public safety issues. So there are no discussions about them being closed. The discussions are all about finding the resources to maintain them and indeed improve them.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The first quarter budget report to Scrutiny Committee and Cabinet, which was presented some weeks ago, showed a rather healthy position of an underspend for the year of around £500,000. But that was propped up by around £1.8 million of interest and therefore an underlying projected overspend on budget of 1.3 million on revenue services. Could the portfolio holder outline what measures are being taken to bring the budget back on track?
Yes, as reported through scrutiny in the last round, there is currently concerns about the number of agency staff that are being used by Clean, Safe and Green, and this isn't budgeted for. So Clean, Safe and Green are going through mitigating measures at the moment to reduce that additional wage bill and get that budget back on track. The other matter was the replacement of vehicles. So we had a number of bin lorries that were on lease. There were delays in the development of a plan for their replacement, and therefore there was an additional cost. That has now been resolved, and there is a proper plan going forward for the replacement of bin lorries, so that there is no further expense incurred on that. Those, as I recall, were the two main sources of additional expenditure that was causing trouble to the Altan report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Williams, did you have a follow-up? No. So no more questions, so we'll now move on to agenda item 6, which is motions. I invite Councillor Terry Doris to present his motion and remind members that a copy of the motion is included with the agenda pack. Microphone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The motion is: parish councils across the Cllr are dismayed at the minority administration's proposal to cease the payment of the concurrent services grant, which is a lifeline to enable parish councils to provide those services which residents of Hemel Hempstead have the benefit of at no extra charge to their council tax. Therefore, Council resolves to recommend to Cabinet that Cabinet removes any proposal to reduce the concurrent services and Warden's grant from the 2026-2027 budget.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for the motion?
Seconded, Madam Mayor, and reserve my right to speak second from last. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now open the floor for debate. Sorry, I was going ahead of you there, Councillor Doris, but...
I did take guidance from the Solicitor to the Council, so I'm following his rules and I wouldn't dare go against them.
You are. I was being enthusiastic, so please go ahead.
I rise to present the motion in my name, not only as the Ward Councillor for Ashridge, comprising Nettledon with Potton End and Little Gadsden parish councils, but also to support other parishes which are also affected by these proposals. Various communications have demonstrated the concern that parish councils have at the proposal from the minority administration to terminate the current concurrent services grant. Town and parish councils rely upon this grant to deliver services which would otherwise have been provided by the Borough Council. The concept and operation of the concurrent services grant has been in operation for many years, and it fundamentally fulfills a key purpose, namely to allow the parish councils to undertake works in their own parishes, works which would otherwise have been fulfilled by the council in the same way as DBC does in the urban area of Hemel Hempstead at no charge to their council tax. Dacorum has a number of beautiful villages which are far from the centre hub depot, and it makes sense for some of those services to be delivered in the most cost-effective way at local level. So the motion before you calls upon DBC not to proceed with the reduction and cessation of the concurrent services and Warden's grant. There is a level of inequality here insofar as community centres are concerned. Take Markyate Village Hall, for example. The parish council have it on a lease from DBC and now has a financial responsibility for the overall maintenance of the building, whilst the Hemel Neighbourhood Community Centre is able to have works undertaken by Dacorum Borough Council. Likewise, if the CSG is withdrawn, PCs will be forced to purchase services from their own reserves or by increasing the individual parish precept levied upon residents for the services which residents in Hemel Hempstead get at no extra charge to their council tax bill. How can this be fair? Put simply, it is a level of double taxation, and I wonder if the residents of the villages who voted for a Liberal Democrat councillor will feel when they realise that their Liberal Democrat councillors are branding them as second-class citizens. The minority administration says that it's facing a significant funding gap. But let me remind the councillors representing villages that the creation of the green bin charge, which they opposed, produced a higher revenue income than was forecast. And the village residents tend to have more lawn space, requiring more than one green bin. And they cut the verges. In the first year alone, the revenue from the green bin charges exceeded the anticipated income by around £500,000. Even now, we learn that Clean, Safe and Green will not cut grass in parish council areas. So how will that be paid for? From the parish precept taken from the residents' pockets? Or will it be left to grow wild? And where is the equality in provision if DBC maintain the town sports grounds fields by regular mowing, but they don't cut the sports fields in villages? It is arguable that some of the more recent projects undertaken by the council will have used council funds which could attract people from the more densely populated areas in Hemel Hempstead. It is perhaps less likely that residents from further afield, such as Great Marsden, Northchurch and Putnam in Tring Rural, will travel to Hemel for these events, and yet they already contribute to DBC central funds which deliver services across the borough. It pains me to observe that rather like the decision-making over car parking charges, the delivery of this proposal has not been straightforward. The original consultation survey was started, as has been mentioned by Councillor Allen, just as schools and parish councils were breaking up for the summer holiday, meaning that an alternative arrangement had to be made to respond to the questionnaire, and even then answers to questions were delayed whilst others took their holidays. And it's worth mentioning the extension of the questionnaire time from whenever it was to the 20th of the month was actually at my request when I asked for it to be extended to the 30th of September, just another 8 days, which you've given a little bit more buffer. However, the offer of the Cabinet member to meet with town and parish councils was welcome, but that provided a muddled statement and information which was later corrected. I am sure I don't need to remind Cabinet, councillors and the public that there are more of us over here than there are over there of members of the administration. and yet they persist in proposing this unfair and unjust action. At the last budget setting meeting, Councillor Andrew Williams noted that the administration, in an effort to produce a balanced budget, increased charges which our residents had to pay from their own pocket. And here we see the same thing happening again. Some may sneer and suggest that village folk can afford it, but let me remind you that in every village there are residents for whom life is a financial struggle, but you will be compelling them to pay more through their precept to simply maintain the quality of life where they live. Now, I have to acknowledge that we do not know what the effect of the outcome of the in the area of Dacorum will be following the outcome of the local government reorganisation, probably in 2028. Villages are very special. People living them are very special and perform tasks out of a sense of pride and duty. So here's an idea. Reintroduce the best kept village competition with some of the money that you were suggesting you would give out, the £200,000. And let's make our villages great again. But right now, I am proud to represent the villages of Little Gadsden, Nettledon, Friston and Potton, and to all members on all sides representing your parish communities, I challenge you to truly represent your residents and support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Symington, can we have less noise now, please? Thank you. Councillor Symington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Doris. This motion is an act of political vandalism aimed at undermining this council's democratic processes. Less than 2 weeks before the results of an extensive consultation are scrutinised, the Conservative opposition is using this inaccurate motion to hobble the administration before the facts are published and before the facts can be considered by the appropriate committee. The consultation follows decades of unaccounted for subsidies paid to parishes across Dacorum. This from the Conservative Party that, according to the campaign group Best for Britain, squandered 100 billion of taxpayers' cash in 4 years on crony contracts, duff deals and outrageous outgoings. It's clear that no lessons have been learnt by the Conservatives in Dacorum as they double down to protect outdated and unjustified subsidies to our parishes. In 2010, as the then chair
excuse me, sorry, let me just interrupt. We welcome
stop the clock,
public attendance. Please, can we be respectful? Thank you. Councillor Symington, please carry on.
Thank you. In 2010, as the then chair of Great Gaddesden Parish Council, I wrote to the then portfolio holder for finance in the Conservative administration to point out that Great Gaddesden Parish Council received by far the lowest concurrent services grant per household and no warden grant. With no questions asked or commitment to what it would be spent on, Great Gaddesden Parish Council's concurrent services were tripled by the Conservative administration. So it is clear that the current arrangements are iniquitous, inconsistent and irregular. Firstly, between the parishes themselves, and secondly, between the parished and unparished areas. Why does Northchurch receive 16,000 in concurrent services, yet Tring gets less than £500? Why does Flampstead get over 7,000 in warden grants and Great Gadsden gets nothing? Why does Little Gadsden get 5 times per head of population more than Wigington? Why do so many parishes receive warden grants when they don't even have a warden? The parishes receive grants, and let's be clear, they are subsidies that they pass on to their local churches. Fair enough, but this doesn't need to be subsidised by Dacorum Borough Council ratepayers. They pay for grass cutting that has already been carried out by Clean, Safe and Green, and there are no wardens in unparished areas of Hemel. In 2016-2017, the previous administration reviewed all these subsidies and decided to carry on with them. Since then, Dacorum has had its grants cut from central government by 60%, whilst the grants, and let's remember they are subsidies, to the parishes have remained the same. No other borough or district councils in Hertfordshire subsidise their parishes, and the Liberal Democrat administration cannot, in good conscience, continue the iniquitous and inconsistent subsidies without a proper scrutinised review. The Liberal Democrat administration first raises with the parishes last year, so it is no surprise. If some decorum-backed councillors had concerns, why were they not raised at the time? Our Liberal Democrat corporate plan places consultation as a top priority, and we have fulfilled that promise. It is disappointing, therefore, that only 9 out of the 16 town and parish councils provided responses to the questions asked. All councils at every tier of government are faced with budget challenges and must make difficult decisions. It is wrong to shy away from these decisions just because the deprived areas of Hemel Hempstead have no voice to argue their case. Highfield and Adeyfield are in the 10% most deprived areas in England. The Police and Crime Commissioner has identified Dacorum as the borough to receive central government funding for the violence prevention work that he is doing. Grove Hill has been identified as needing investment in placemaking to improve the lives of its residents and reduce crime. Our priority is to ensure that the parishes are financially sound. Yes, that's our priority, but it's also our priority to direct the council's precious and scarce resources to improving the lives of the most vulnerable and those most in need in our borough. This requires compassion, consensus building, and difficult decisions. This motion is divisive. It sets parished and unparished areas against each other. It promotes the unaccountable iniquitous subsidies to those parts of the borough least in need and aims to fetter the administration by prejudicing the scrutiny process and hobbling the distribution of funds to those most in need. I urge you to reject the motion and allow the council's processes to proceed in the proper manner.
Thank you. Thank you. So, thank you. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wasn't expecting that. I'll turn it over.
There were no other questions, so that's why I was coming to you as the responder.
Get a crack on. The concurrent services schemes...
Sorry, we do now have another... You
Sorry,
haven't...
I wasn't quick enough. I didn't realise you were going to the seconder. You're going to the seconder now?
Just bear with me.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to give way anyway.
Okay, if you're happy to give way, then yes, we will. But obviously, anyone who does wish to speak, you do need to be prompt with letting us know. So, Councillor Allen, please.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. That's very gracious of you. So, making cuts is not easy. We didn't come into an administration to make cuts, and it brings no pleasure to have to look at this budget line. But to have no cuts is unrealistic in the current fiscal climate that has been outlined by Councillor Symington, where the borough has had to save £11 million since 2016 and still has to make savings of £2 million in the next couple of years. The delay, it's already been delayed. We delayed it for a year. Let's not delay it for another. You want it to, there's been a suggestion that we should park it for the life of the council, waiting for LGR. But when we lifted up the bonnet and looked at the jumble that was under the bonnet, we feel disinclined to close the bonnet down for the very reasons that Councillor Symington has outlined. I have been round to many of the councils and spoken to many of the people running parish councils as part of the consultation process. I heard a lot of talk about double taxation. I have checked this with both the Chief Financial Officer. This does not constitute double taxation. One of the key things is that a lot of this money is being paid for works being done on parish council land. That is parish council responsibilities, not the quorums. However, the argument of what I would call equivalence rather than double taxation, the idea that parishes pay, parish council taxpayers pay into a pot in decorum, and that pays for unparished areas to have their areas mown, and yet they don't get their own areas mown, I think is a fair comment. And so, moving forward, as you'll see in the paper that is imminently to land in people's in trays, we will accept the argument of equivalence and unpick, while making the cuts, unpick the issues where those equivalences apply. And these can be unpicked whilst cuts are being made in a staged way. However, I won't accept the motion. We need to proceed to scrutiny, where a carefully prepared paper can be considered properly rather than arguing on the basis of supposition as we currently are. Excuse me while my... We intend to go forward on the basis of three principles. Firstly, that this needs to be fair and consistent across both parishes and between unparished and parish areas. And the areas of equivalence that apply to parishes also apply to unparished areas who do not have wardens. But also the principle that parishes need to contribute to the savings that the quorum has been required to make for many years now. As Councillor Symington said, these are very high savings having to be made. In effect, central government is requiring local government to depend on its own resources and its own tax base. We are passing that on to parishes. And is it any, is there a coincidence here that the precepts in Hertford, in decorum, are nearly half the level of the precepts, the average precept nationally, which is £92. In decorum, it is, from memory, I think it's about £50. So, is there an argument to be said that rather than the parishes subsidising the borough is actually subsidising the parishes? And we're also, this 200,000 fund that Councillor Douris referred to, assets have been a real concern about the parishes, and this is an attempt to make sure that those assets are in the best possible state going into local government reform.
Thank you.
Therefore, I commend the approach of the administration to the Chamber.
Councillor Allen, thank you. We'll move on now. Councillor Pringle, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I say, as someone who was elected as a Liberal Democrat, who remains a member of that party, although not a part of this group, and who still holds dear the values upon which I was elected, that I find that it's very concerning to hear such aggressive and divisive invective from the leader of the council, setting village against village. They're actually named without any real information. And that just seems to me to be a complete lack of responsible leadership in a cost of living crisis, particularly when people from our supposed joint principles really should be standing up against wedge politics. It's something we see across the whole world at the moment. It's a threat to democracy, setting rich against poor, village against town, and people of different cultures against one another. And responsible leadership should really try to bring people together, to not make
presumptions or judgments based on where someone lives, and to really show that they're doing their absolute best to be fair to everyone. And I can say that not just in my village of North Church, of which I am very proud of my residents and everything they do for their area. We have residents. I have seen 80-year-old residents out with rubber gloves and boots on, lifting bricks and sweeping mud that has swept down Hamberland's Lane because of poorly maintained drainage by the county council that they've been lobbying about for years and which hasn't been cleaned despite many pleas to Dacorum Borough Council. I've seen groups of pensioners from the 80s doing that and cutting back hedgerow because they are concerned that this is on a cycling route and they don't want to see people that they don't even know having their eyes ripped out and going head over heels on their bikes. I have a resident who is also a volunteer member of our parish council, which every single parish councillor is, and there's many of us who are not also borough councils, who goes out and cuts the verges on New Road as people enter North Church and Berkhamsted from Ashridge, because Hertfordshire County Council doesn't do that, because they are concerned about the number of really serious road traffic problems that happen there. So people in villages certainly do not shirk their responsibilities to the rest of the borough. They certainly do not. And any suggestion that they're doing that in any way is quite simply wrong and divisive and should be a matter of shame for the leader of this council. And I ask that she retract the names of the villages that she shamefully tried to set against one another. In fact, also outside my village, I have campaigned across the county, and there are some extremely deprived pockets of rural poverty in this country where people have very few services and very little resources to fund them. The leader asks a number of questions. I don't know if they were meant to be rhetorical or not, but surely she should be asking her officers to find out what the answers are instead of proposing and standing up and setting town against country, village against urban friends and neighbours. There are plenty of areas in that are unparished that could well become parished, and maybe Councillor Allen in his final report will consider proposing that Boxmoor becomes a parished area, then they can pay a precept like the people in the other villages do. And Councillor Allen could perhaps set that, and then he would be able to identify a net return that could be made to the borough. But unless he's prepared to do that and have all the other areas in Hemel Hempstead parished and pay for a clerk to do the work that they get for free from Dacorum, then I suggest he revises his approach.
Thank you, Councillor Pringle. Councillor Burrell, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start by coming back on something the leader said. If the issue is unfairness between parishes, then surely it's better to try and find a fairer way to equalise the grants than to simply cut them all together. Now, I represent a ward with 3 parishes in, for context: Flampstead, Markgate and Great Gadsden, rural parishes who rely on this funding to deliver services that in Hemel and in some of our more urban areas are delivered by the Borough Council, and they deliver that at a better value for money, but also importantly, with a better focus and understanding of local residents and local priorities. We have a big issue in our rural areas, especially on my side of the borough, of people not really understanding what Dacorum stands for beyond the fact that it's on the bin. And if they completely cut, and if you completely cut this concurrent services grant and cut funding to parish councils, then really what is the point of the work that the council do? You know, you look at what happens in Hemel with access to community centres and a lot of the work that's done around supporting social housing. It's a lot more Hemel dominated than we get in our rural areas. But you've heard lots of that already, so that's not really why I stop. I more want to speak directly to those opposite who represent parished areas, including those who are local councillors, those who are borough councillors for parish areas, and importantly, those who are county councillors for areas that have parishes, including my county councillor. You're going to vote if you oppose this, right? The wording of the motion is simple. It is Council resolves to recommend that Cabinet removes any proposal to reduce the concurrent services and Warden's grant from the budget, which means if you don't support this, you're voting to cut concurrent services grants and to make residents and parishes poorer. Is that really what you want to do? Is that really what you want to do when you next walk into the parish council meetings, to look them in the eye when they ask you questions and explain that you've cut their funding? Or are you strong enough to stand up and do what's right for the residents that elected you to, even if it's not this office, but to other offices that you hold concurrently? Do you have the backbone to do that? Now, I want to sum up by saying that I agree with something that Councillor Pringle was saying about values that I thought the Liberal Democrats stood for, despite disagreeing with you guys on lots of things. And one of the big values that I thought the Lib Dem stood for was localism. But if you're cutting funding to even more local councils, that goes against that, surely. Anyway, the big question is, whose side are you on, especially if you cover a parished area? Are you standing up for your residents, or are you standing up for bigger things like the council? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gale, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My first observation is that this motion is one that wants to avoid scrutiny for subsidies. It's a little inconsistent with transparent government, which is simply to remove something from scrutiny. Please don't look at our grants. Please don't look at this. Take it away from scrutiny. It's not very transparent. The other observation I have was that the Conservative criticism of our budget was that there were not enough cuts. Now our opponents seem to be complaining when we propose some judicious cuts. The median Band D parish precept throughout all of England, according to government statistics, is £92.22 for 2025 to 26. The median precept for decorum is £49.84. 5 of the 6 decorum town and parish councils with the highest dependence on DBC funding charge their residents a precept which is considerably below the English average. It's abnormally low in an area in the southeast where the cost of living in general and incomes are relatively high. And perhaps this is because of this steady, unquestioned subsidy from Decorum Borough Council. There's very much parish-owned land, which is the legal responsibility of parish councils, which are being maintained using borough funds. Now, I'm not divisive, and I don't believe that our leader is divisive. Decorum is one borough, and it's true, there's likely to be cross-subsidisation, and that's not a bad thing in itself. We're not setting town against country or one village. There's not going to be a decorum civil war about this. But it's fair to scrutinise, it's fair to ask questions. It's fair to ask questions about the disparity between the different subsidies in the different villages. And bearing in mind the principle that those with the broadest shoulders should carry the greatest burden, this subsidy seems to be an anomalous example of the opposite. It cannot be right for the unparished areas where average income is lower, like Bennett's End, Grove Hill and Highfield, to be subsidising the maintenance of villages in some of the most desirable places to live in the country. I think our council taxpayers are entitled to have this scrutinised and have questions asked. And it is quite unattractive for people to try to take this away from the democratic process. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Walker, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
We've heard a lot of things tonight, and I'm sure we'll hear some more about this, and nobody wants cuts. I can totally understand that. Speaking of Bovingdon, which I'm also a parish councillor, just simple facts. The removal of removal of the grant will probably, it will increase the precept by 15%. There's no way around it. I like to put on record that Bovingdon spends every penny of that grant on what it should be spent on, and that's what it's for. So the simple matter is, if it is removed, then we will raise precept by 15%. That doesn't take into account inflation. Villagers will obviously hate it. The keyboard warriors will go crackers, and we'll have to explain to them why it's happened. But it does seem grossly unfair to happen so quickly. And I totally understand the differences in the villages around, but it's money that's needed. It's not banked. It is needed to do it. And I think it is more efficient if it is done by the village than be done elsewhere. I leave it at that. I'll support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Timmis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also am a borough councillor for Watling Ward, which is 3 parishes, 3 villages. Residents pay the same council tax as those residents in Hemel Hempstead, Berkhamsted and Tring, but they do not benefit from the same resources, infrastructure, transport and leisure facilities in particular. So it is demonstrably unfair to withdraw the grant, which will make things even more uneven, shall we say. At the moment, a lot of cuts have already been made in Clean, Safe and Green. Will come out are rarely seen in our villages, although they do come out and cut the verges, but far less than they ever did, ever have done before. So I personally think that it is unfair to, because the idea is that they're going to completely remove the grant within 3 years. I think that is going to local residents who are going to have to pay the increase in the precept in order to maintain these villages. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Capozzi, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be brief. Concurrent services and the warden services by, and I would say all towns and parishes who get them, may not have a warden, as in a named man or woman who is the warden, but we pay for services which a warden would be deemed to undertake. We can support local, I know a number of parishes support the local charity SRT in providing work for them and their employees, which is completely within their means to achieve. Everybody talks about cutting grass, which, can I point out, is just one of the many things that we do as a parish council, and that is what the concurrent services and warden grant is paid for. The precept that we charge then goes towards paying for a clerk's salary. A clerk is a legal entity within the parish council who we cannot operate without and we are legally required to have. So, whilst we have a precept and we have money coming in for the grants as well, we actually have other overheads, not just cutting lawns and hedges. I find it a great shame that the administration isn't speaking proudly of the fact that we only charge an average of £50 precept in decorum, as opposed to the average UK value of £92, as opposed to saying, well, you've still got 40 odd quid to play with, why don't you go after it? That seems an appalling approach to this. And going to Councillor C-Link's point earlier, I actually thought your question was clear, and I think actually, if you were to make parishes from the non-parished areas, you would in fact have the opportunity, as we do at parish, to allocate Cllr money through proper grant processes and projects in the community and have complete and utter visibility of what your residents want, because that is the process we use. And whilst we have Cllr money, we couldn't do any of that without a clerk, because she or he is the actual legal entity of our parish council, and the councillors make decisions and then they actually manage the council from the funding, in that they are the financial officer, as it were. So there is far more to being a parish than just cutting verges and hedges, and I think it's completely underestimated that these grants are just about that. There's a lot more to the precept and what we do with it. Finally,
instead of looking at this as a money saving, it would have been interesting if the administration had considered money income, and actually through the unparished areas becoming parished, you could actually then have a small precept which would actually increase the income from the non-parished areas as well, instead of trying to make savings and talk about earning instead. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkie, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I think everybody here understands that there are issues around budgetary constraints. I would much rather that we, as local councillors, all spoke up about government spending and the lack thereof to local councils, that we're being put into this position. I hear, on the one hand, I'm being told that, no, we're not throwing town and parish councils against Hemel, and then there is some very aggressive language being used. I don't think that's helpful, and I certainly take exception to the wording of subsidies. This isn't a subsidy, this is a grant, and as my colleague Councillor Capozzi has already pointed out, there are exceptional circumstances for town and parish councillors. Tring Town Council, we do have a number of assets, which on the one hand you can see as a positive, it's an additional income, but it also means that we have to maintain them all. As Councillor Capozzi said, we have an actual specific warden at Tring Town Council, and we also have a clerk, and we also have to have an assistant clerk just to administer all the work that we have in the town council. On top of that, we're talking about unitary councils soon, and we're going to have just town councils and unitary councils, and we're talking about unitary councils sending more work to town councils. For example, it's been suggested to us that we should take over the public toilets, that we should look at Victoria Hall, that we should do our own Christmas lights. So at the same time that we're going to have Dacorum Borough Council taken out of the loop, unitary councils made, town councils being given more responsibility and more work, the grants that they're giving in order for them to give the services that Hemel give to Hemel residents is also going to be withdrawn. And that to me just sounds undemocratic. I just can't agree with it. I do think there is value in looking at how these amounts came for each council. Councillor Symington made some figures with, as Councillor Pringle said, with no explanation as to how or why they were brought about. And I think there would be value in looking at that. But what I've seen so far of the consultation is it's less of a consultation and more of an onslaught to make town councils accept this. And town councils don't. So I actually support the motion, although it makes me very sad to have to do so. And I would ask the administration to reconsider their approach to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Madden, please.
Thank you. Nash Mills is a slightly unusual part of the borough in that we are parished. We are very much part of Hemel Hempstead. We're the only part of the town of Hemel Hempstead that is parish, because Kings Langley don't believe they're part of Hemel Hempstead. And we are a mix of urban and rural. We're also unusual in that we don't have any land, we don't have a parish office building or anything like that. But what we do have is the most fantastic warden. Now, our warden works outside the parish boundary, actually, and we pay him as a parish council, and he works outside the parish boundary. He walks from Kings Langley every day, and he collects litter all the way to and from work every day. He's also going outside the boundary, supporting the Clean, Safe and Green team with all sorts of other stuff as well. I met with Will and our parish clerk, and I listened to what he said, and I got what he said, and I told him I got what he said. But when we went back to the parish with the feedback, they were very firm in their feelings that they want our parish council to be treated exactly the same as all the other parish councils in this. So we do stand alongside the other parish councils. The other thing is that parish councils, in fact, Councillor Wilkie, I think, has just alluded to this, pay for things that the unparished areas, to some extent, get covered by decorum. Nash Mills, in the last 3 or 4 years, have paid for their own lights. It's a lot of money that we pay for a string of lights outside the shops, and someone to come and put them on. All of those kind of things are paid for by the parish council, not by decorum. And finally, the other thing I just wanted to say is that we all know that we've got unitary coming. We all know that at that point, this is going to end anyway. So I would urge the council to continue as we are, to give the parish councils and the town councils time to prepare fully for when that time comes and when the unitary authorities enforce this on us. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll now move on to the seconder, Councillor Anderson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've gone from one extreme to the other. I was surprised that I was going to speak and then I've had to wait half an hour. Anyway, the concurrent services scheme was set up in the last local government review in 1973-74 for 4 key reasons: to cover the reverse economy of scale, enabling one person locally in parished areas to deal with small problems without having to send a whole team out from a town centres, so that DBC doesn't have to provide these services; to compensate the parishes for providing services that ought to be provided by DBC; to devolve services to the parishes; and to offset the imbalance one gets in public spending between the urban and rural areas. It was also, quite pertinently now, set up to soothe the ruffled feathers from the last local government review. The scheme originally covered just the rural parts of the borough until it was extended to pay for the wardens, including in Berkhamsted and Troon, in the early 1990s. Now, we've had figures quoted tonight, and I have to say I don't recognise the vast majority of them because I've actually got the data and I've been through it. It is not true that the scheme has always been increased, and it is not true that the scheme has never been reduced. It was frozen in 2010, reduced by 25% in 2011, frozen in 2012 and 2013, and reduced by 10% between 2017 and 2020. Only this year, the amount of funding broadly reached where it was in 2003, meaning that overall it's been frozen against real terms for over 20 years. So it cannot be argued that the concurrent services have not been pulling their weight in the need to find savings. Certainly, in King's Langley's case, I can answer for, as mentioned during the debate, King's Langley Parish Council has used every penny it has received from Decorum's concurrent service grant and dipped into its own pocket to spend as much itself. So half the concurrent service expenditure at King's Langley has been come out of the Parish Council's pocket already. Nor is it true that concurrent services don't exist elsewhere and have to be removed to standardise the Council's finances for the LGR. They may not be called concurrent services in Three Rivers, but TRDC gives grants to the parishes there due to the nature of the district and how it was set up in the last LGR. And this is not the only example. The obvious consequence of curtailing the concurrent service scheme is that the parishes cut their services, leaving DBC with more expense, or raise their precept taxes by as much as 20%, so that their taxpayers pay double for them to provide the services that should be provided by DBC, so-called double taxation, which is not only is it fundamentally true in this case that it is double taxation, it's also fundamentally wrong. Trying to fudge the issue with an extraordinary fund to provide one-off funding does not solve the problem whatsoever and displays a crucial lack of knowledge as to how the difference between revenue and non-revenue. However, it is the precedents set by this proposal that are additionally worrying in 2 respects. First, for those representing urban boards, and thinking this is just a case of the parishes whinging about self-interest, there is something I believe you need to be aware of. DBC provides a lot of additional, non-standard funding direct to urban parts of the borough. For just one example, the neighbourhood centres. If the proposal to cut concurrent services succeeds, the next logical step would be to take out the non-standard urban funding streams as well, and that is why I'm appealing for your support in this matter. The other respect is the voluntary sector, care and other discretionary funding provided by this council. The completely selfish, self-defeating attitude demonstrated by the proposal also sets a very worrying precedent for how DBC will treat the voluntary and care sectors during the LGR, as I warned at the last full council meeting, or the one before, I think. Now, I did respond to the consultation last year, but was ignored, and Councillor Johnson and I agreed to meet the portfolio holder to discuss the consultation this year, only the portfolio holder went to the wrong location. So I just wanted to point those particular points out. But in summary, Madam Mayor, I therefore appeal to colleagues to support this motion against the proposal to curtail the concurrent services scheme, and if it is carried, to the executive to respect the outcome of the motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So I'll go back to Councillor Doris for your final right to reply.
Thank you very much indeed, Mayor, and I won't be needing the full 10 minutes, I can tell you. But I might talk for about 5 minutes and then I can just very quickly find out whether Watford actually have won. I know it's 2-1. I was listening intently to Councillor Anderson, like a multitask. Indignation and rhetoric, Councillor Symington. That's how I heard you speaking. There was an awful lot of indignation, an awful lot of rhetoric, and how dare we should challenge what you were suggesting, or the administration, the minority administration, should be doing. But Councillor Capozzi makes a very good point. There's a whole range of facilities and requirements that are contained within the concurrent services grant, which supplements the parish precept. The Cllr, Sunnyside Rural Trust. If parishes lose, those parishes that use Sunnyside Rural Trust, if they lose the funding, what's going to get cut? It's quite possible that Sunnyside Rural Trust, for one, will get cut. And they do a great job for everybody. They do a great job in what in their performance on the ground, but also working with their trainees to do the work to the benefit of the trainees. Just picking up a few sort of points as I've gone along. Councillor Allen mentioned the £200,000. Yes, if that were to come, well, if that were to come anyway, that would be lovely. But if that were to come, bless you.
Bless you.
I've been heckled in other places, but I've never been heckled by a sneeze. There's always a first time. The £200,000 that Councillor Allen was suggesting as a recompense, if you like, for taking away the concurrent services grant, how would that get divided up? I wonder if you looked. For some of the parish councils, it would amount to about £4,500. What really can you do constructively with £4,500? Not a great deal. So I think that's a hollow suggestion. The other thing as well is that you mentioned about banding and also that people who live in villages and within the parish councils, they get it and it's all cheap, and there was mention of the £49.84 as the median payment. That is based probably on a band D, but the majority, or a lot of houses and properties in villages are not band D. They are band E, F, G and H, and therefore the residents are paying a considerable amount more than you might imagine. I think one thing which I did pick up also from Councillor Symington's propositions was that it felt like you, and I think this is possibly a trait of Liberal Democrats, that when you're on the losing side, you revert automatically to the last 14 years, and everything was terrible in the last 14 years, and it's all the problem of the people in the last 14 years. No, it's not. It's your problem. It's absolutely your problem. And you can actually do better than just bungle a figure together from September, or indeed from the end of September, when you were getting the consultation results coming back. You've had all year within your administration to consider this. You've had all year, bearing in mind, as William Allen, Councillor Allen has said, it got delayed from last year. You've had all year to actually put something together and bring a proper reasoned proposal out, rather than just we're going to cut it. That's not good communication. It really isn't. And people of decorum and people in the villages deserve better.
Point of order, please. We have never said that we're going to...
Yes, you can...
It's inaccurate to say that we are running a consultation. We have not said what the results of that consultation is.
Thank you. Okay, if you could carry on, Councillor Doris.
Thank you. That was the point that I was making, that you've had a consultation and you haven't really decided what you're going to do with it, but you've now just said we're going to cut, or we are proposing to cut the concurrent services and wardens' grants. So there's a whole lot of work that could have been done. It could have been so much better. Councillor Pringle actually makes a fair point about road cleaning and verge cutting. It all has a cost, and an awful lot of people, as I mentioned in my earlier speech, that an awful lot of residents actually do it, or they ask if they are fortunate enough to have somebody who looks after their gardens to actually cut the verges in front of their own houses. That's community spirit. Obviously it attracts a level of humour from over there. I'm not quite sure why, but I'm trying to make a reasoned point. But the bottom line is, you had all year. This is a bungled it's likely to be a bungled last-minute project coming to Finance and Resources and then to Cabinet. But as the motion says, we're asking you to think again and not go ahead with it. Leave it as it is. We don't know what's going to happen in 2028 or thereabouts. So just let sleeping concurrent services and warden grants lie. You're causing an awful lot of grief. Maybe that's what you want, I don't know. But you're causing an awful lot of grief, and I would suggest that you are letting down the very people who voted you into this building as their representatives. And I therefore, again, suggest or ask or urge you to support the motion.
Thank you. Okay, so now we are intending to vote.
Can we have a recorded vote, please?
Seconded.
Yes, please.
And third, okay. So third was Councillor England. So we'll just get the equipment ready. Okay. So we will now vote on the motion. It's going to be a recorded vote. To agree the motion, vote yes. To oppose the motion, vote no. If you wish to, you may select abstain. I will now hand over to Democratic Services to take you through the vote.
Okay, I'm just going to set up the vote, so just give me a second. Can anyone see the voting screen? Can anyone not see the voting screen? Please cast your votes. Yeah, no, they can all see it. I can check. Yeah, she's got the vote, she just doesn't know how if she's voted. Okay, we are expecting 2 more people to vote. If you are intending to abstain, please can you press the abstain button and get the vote on the screen. If anyone's having any problems, do raise your hands and we can come and help. The small square at the bottom will indicate if you have voted. It will be coloured in the same colour as that vote record. Anyone need help?
Madam Mayor, I voted, I pressed it, but more than once, and nothing seems to happen. No, that's fine. Check some help for you. You have unvoted, so you need to press it again. Like you need to press these buttons on the screen. Yeah, that's it, now you voted.
Yeah, we got 45.
Voted.
There is 45.
So there's 3 squares at the bottom under the votes.
Well, we have got 45 now.
Yeah, everyone is now voting.
Yeah. 45 members. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to... Hold on, you're okay? Am I closing the vote? I'm closing the vote.
Okay, so there were 21 for, 22 against and 2 abstained. Therefore, the motion was unsuccessful. So moving on to agenda item 7, business from the last council meeting. All updates are provided in the action point list as published and under agenda item 7. Are these agreed as noted? I'm sorry, I'm being asked a question.
Yeah. Yes, Madam Mayor, can we request a 5-minute break, please?
Can I have a show of hands if people want a break? I think the majority are not wanting a break, so I think we're just going to have to plough through. Thank you. Okay, agenda item 8. I invite the Leader of the Council to introduce the referrals from Cabinet. Councillor Greenfield.
Sorry, I'm asking a point of process. Do we need to fill the papers?
Not
in
now,
as well?
no, because we did it electronically.
Thank you.
We give those just in case the technology is not as good as we need it to be. Councillor Symington.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, item 8.1, CA/67/25, Treasury Management Outturn and Performance Indicators 2024-25. I move the recommendations as set out under item 8 of the agenda. Do I have a seconder? Oh, okay.
Working. I'll second that.
Thank you. Are the recommendations agreed? Okay, agenda item 9, overview and scrutiny referrals. There are none, so moving on to agenda item 10. I invite the Chair of the Licensing and Health and Safety Enforcement Committee to introduce the referral from the committee.
Thank you, Mayor. At the meeting on the 22nd of July 2025, the committee considered the review of Statement of Licensing Policy, Licensing Act 2003. The substance of it was three substantive amendments. One is that a consideration of anti-terrorism precautions at large events. Another one was encouraging participation in the Ask for Angela scheme voluntarily. And the third was an anti-spiking measures. That's the substance of the review, just for reference, just for information. And I ask that the committee endorse the revised draft statement of licensing policy under the Licensing Act 2003 for the period 2026 to 2031 and refer it to full council for approval and adoption. And that was the decision of the licensing committee.
Thank you. Does the council agree with the adoption?
Agreed.
Thank you. Agenda item 11. I invite the Leader of the Council to introduce the appointment of outside organisations.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The revised list of appointments is included in the agenda pack. There's one addition to that, which is that Councillor Carrie Link would like to be nominated for the Apsley Community Association, which has reformed since July. I'd also like to draw Council's attention to Relate Decorum, which currently has no decorum representatives and both seats are vacant. If anyone would like to nominate themselves for one of those roles, please get in touch outside of the meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Timmis, your light flashed on and then off again. Are you trying to speak?
I just wanted to point out that there are one or two inaccuracies on this list, in particular some that do not exist anymore. So I don't know if I can speak to...
Should I recommend that we...
Afterwards. Right.
I'll recommend we get that list updated. Thank you. Now, agenda item 12. Are there any changes to committee membership?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there are some changes. So, Housing and Community Overview and Scrutiny Committee. As he's now an independent member, Councillor Ian Bristow will retain a seat on the committee, utilising an existing independent vacancy. The resulting Liberal Democrat vacancy will be filled by Councillor Brenda Link. Councillor Nigel Taylor will be appointed as chair. Strategic Planning and Environment Overview and Scrutiny Committee, Councillor Brenda Link is removed and Councillor Will Jankowski appointed in her place. Health and Wellbeing Committee, Councillor Will Jankowski is appointed to fill a Liberal Democrat vacancy. Development Management Committee, Councillor Ian Bristow is removed. Councillor Will Jankowski appointed to be the Liberal Democrat a vacancy. And Joint Negotiating Committee, to reflect the revised political proportionality, Councillor Nigel Taylor has been removed as that seat is now allocated to the Labour Group, who have confirmed the appointment of Councillor Angela Mitchell.
Okay. So, finally, to agenda item 13. Councillor asked to consider the following changes to committee dates. Sorry, I've just got another light on. Councillor Bristow, please.
Yes, I would like to propose myself to join as a vacancy on the Finance and Resources Overview and Scrutiny Committee as an independent member. Thank you.
Thank you. That's noted. Thank you. So, finally, to agenda item 13, Councillor asked to consider the following changes to committee dates. Cabinet contingency date to be moved from the 25th of November 2025 to the 18th of November 2025 and confirmed as going ahead. An extraordinary council meeting to discuss local government reorganisation to be added on Wednesday, the 12th of November 2025. 2 additional Development Management Committee dates of the 27th of November 2025 and the 22nd of January 2026. And Audit Committee to move from the 3rd of December to the 27th of November 2025. Are those changes noted and agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. And that concludes the business of this evening's meeting.